In this video, I'm going to show you how we can create a Laravel and GraphQL API with using Laravel framework. So now I'm going to create a new Laravel app. So first I'm going to go to my documents folder. So let's go to the documents, let's go to the dev, and now let's create a new app by Composer. So Composer creates a project, Laravel. So now I'm choosing that I want to create a Laravel app, and now I'm gonna type here Laravel GraphQL tutorial. Okay, so let's wait until process of installation will be finished. Now we need to install the next dependency. As you can see, Composer require being GraphQL Laravel, and we're gonna use this dependency to build a GraphQL API in this app. And the next step is to publish GraphQL settings. So to do that, we need to type the next command. So it will be phpartisan vendor publish, and we're gonna publish GraphQL provider. So let's do this. Okay, so I forget to delete $sign in the beginning of the command, so let me delete this $sign. Okay, so great, now GraphQL vendor is published, and that means that we can now start building a GraphQL API in the Laravel app. So let's open our project in Visual Studio Code. First of all, we will need to configure connection to the database. So create a new database for this app, and I will type credentials to my database. So I have database GraphQL app1, and this is my root and root password. I mean the base username, password. And now I save it. And now let's open terminal. And we will need to create a new model. So let's type phpartisan make model post. And also add flag to create also migration for this model. Okay, migration is successfully created with model. So open this migration file, and now let's create three fields inside the post model. So it will be title. Now let's create a text field, and it will be content, and the last field it will be after of the post. Okay, let's save it. And the next step is to create a new folder inside the app folder, and it will be named GraphQL. Inside this folder, we need to create a types folder. Inside this types folder, we're gonna save object types of the GraphQL API. Now let's create a queries folder, and inside this folder, we're gonna save queries and mutations folder for the mutations of the GraphQL API in our app. So the first step is to create a new object type. So we're gonna name this post type PHP, and inside this file we will now write all parameters of the post type that will work with post table and post model. Okay, and yeah, let's also don't forget to let's see, open post model, and let's type protected fillable title content and after. So yeah, let's save it, and now let's get back to the post type file. Okay, so first we need to define correct namespace. So it will be namespace GraphQL types. And the next step is to include some classes that we're going to use inside this file. So it will be post model, because you already know that we now making post type for the post model. We need type class from the GraphQL package. We also need GraphQL facade, and we also need GraphQL type. Okay, and now we need to define object type that will be named post type, and it extends from GraphQL type class. And we need to create the first array name attributes, and inside this array attributes we need to define we need to define information about this object type. So the first parameter, it will be name of the object type, so it will be post. The next parameter, it will be description of this object type. So I'm gonna now type description and object type of the post model. And the last parameter, this is model of the object type, and it will be post class. Okay, so post model. And now we need to define field of this object type that exists in this post model. So to do that, we're gonna create a new function named fields, and it will return array. And we're gonna type here return array, and inside this array we need to define all fields that we have inside this table model. So the first parameter, the first field, it will be ID, and when you're defining a new field that is in some object type, you will first of all you will need to define type of this field. And as you can see, I'm typing that this is integer value and not null. And the second parameter here, this is description of this field, and I can find this like an ID of the post. Now we can copy this and we can create a second field for the title, and it will be not integer, it will be string, and I can define this like I can type that this is title of the post. And let's create another field for the content, and it will be also string type. And the last parameter, the last field, it will be outer field, yeah, and I can type that it will be outer of the post. Okay, so that's all that we need to define new object type. And the next step is to create a query for this post type. So let's go to the queries folder and create a post query.php file. And first of all, we need to define correct namespace, as we did this in post type PHP, and we're gonna type here app GraphQL queries. Okay, and now we need to import all classes that we are going to use here. So as you can see, this is query class type and result info, and also GraphQL facade, and also one of the important things, this is post model. So now let's type class post query, and this class extends query class. Okay, so now let's open body of the class, and now we can define what this query will do when we will try to call this query. Okay, so as we did this in the post type.php, we need to also create here new array named attributes, and here we need to type name of the query, and it will be getPost. Yeah, so it will be named getPost. And the next step is to define type of this object type of this query. So we will create a new function named type, and it will return instance of the class type. Yeah, so now let's type return, and we're gonna type this not null. Now we need to again call type function, type class, and we're typing that we want to get list of some object type, and we typing here again that not null. Yeah, and inside this not null we need to call GraphQL class, and we need to call we need to define that we want to use here post object types that we created here. And yeah, so soon I'm gonna show you how you can define how you can import your object types and queries inside the GraphQL settings file. Okay, so now let's save it, and the last step is to define how this query will be worked. So we will need to define resolve function, and you need to create here all these variables. So it's root variable, arguments for the arguments here, context, result info, and get selected field. But we will not use these variables for now. We need just to return post all. Okay, so we just created a post query. So as you can see, there is three important things. So first, this is protected attributes array, where we define name of the query. Second important thing is to create a type function, and inside this function you're defining which object type you use inside this query. And the last important thing, this is create a resolve function with all these variables, and inside this function write code that will do some logic inside this query. So now it's time to import these two classes inside the GraphQL settings. So if you want to go to the GraphQL settings, you will need to open config folder and open GraphQL file. And now let's first of all import object type that we created here. So it will be types. So as you can see, app GraphQL types, post type. And now let's import post query. So post query. So now I imported these two classes, and now let's move on here. And as you can see, there is default schema, and inside here we can define which object types, mutations, or queries we want to use. So I'm gonna go here, and I'm type that I want to use post query and post object type. So that's all. And yeah, there's many other settings that you can use. For example, by default, GraphQL is enabled, and that means if we go to the GraphQL page on the local server, you will see this explorer of your request. So now let's make migration. So PHP artisan migrate, and let's start local server of the app. Okay, so now let's open browser and check GraphQL page. So if you open your local server and if you will go to this link, you will see documentation explorer, and there is a default query that is provided by GraphQL settings. And as you can see, we got here get posts queries that we created, and there is no description. We can also define this, and you can see that object type that we created exists. So all parameters that I defined inside the post type PHP file are here. Okay, so now let's try to get all posts, and we will get an empty array. So let's just try to get something. So posts. Okay, so get posts, not just get posts, not just posts. Okay. And yeah, I got empty array. So that means that all works, because we're trying to get data from the table, but table is empty. So now we can create that means that we can now create a new factory. So let's create a new factory for the post. So post factory. Okay, so now let's go to the factories folder, and inside this folder we're gonna define how post factory will work, and we're gonna use this to create a fake post by using database seeder. So first we want to define how title of the post will be generated. So it will be a text field with 20 words. And now let's define content. We again calling faker, and it will now contain 100 words. And now let's type after, so fake name. Okay, so let's save it. And now we can go to the seeders. We can go to the seeders, and we can open database seeders, and we can include here post model. And now we can call posts model, and we can call also factory that we just configured, and we can create a 20 posts. So now let's type PHP artisan db seeding database, and I think that it will work now. So don't forget also to start local server of the app. And now let's open browser again, and now let's try to make this request again. So let's also get content and after the post. So now as you can see, this works because we got content, author, and title. So this post was generated by using Faker, but as you can see, all works, and we successfully created a GraphQL query to get all that data from the post table. Now let's try to create a mutation. So if you want to create a mutation, let's open Visual Studio Code, and now let's go to the mutations folder, and let's type here post mutation.php. So first of all, we will need to define correct namespace of this mutation. So it will be app GraphQL mutations. And the second thing is to include classes that we are going to use inside this mutation class. So I'm going to use here these classes. So this is post model, this is GraphQL, this is type class, result info, and mutation class for the mutations. Now I'm going to define mutation class, so class post mutation, and extends mutation. And now we need to create attributes array, and inside this array we will need to define name of the mutation, and it will be create a post. And the second step, this is define type of the mutation. We can just copy this line from the post query. So we will use post object type that we already created. And now we need to define arguments function, and it will return array type. So we're typing return array, and first argument it will be title, and name it will be title. Now we need to define type of this argument, and it will be type string. And we can also define rules of this argument, and we can type that this argument title is required. Now we can just copy this, and we can type here content argument and also after argument. Okay, that's all. And now we need to create a resolve function, as we did this in the post query, but now inside this resolve function we will write logic how new post will be created. So we're typing here post creating. Now we are calling create function from the model, and I'm typing here that title equals to the arguments title. So now I get this value from this arguments array that we will, and all these values we're gonna get from this argument that we're gonna fill when we will create a new post. So now let's type that content will be equal to the arguments content, and after will be equal to the arguments after. Okay, and return post. So okay, that's all. And now let's go back to the GraphQL config file. So mutation, we will type here post mutation class, and let's also don't forget to include this class here. So we're gonna type GraphQL mutations and post mutation. Let's save it, and okay, now let's open browser and let's try to refresh this page, and you will see that mutation is successfully created and create post exists here. So all arguments that I defined inside the arguments function are here. Okay, so that means that now I can try to create a new post. So first I need to define title of the new post. It will be lorem ipsum. Now let's define content of the new post, and we can type here testing GraphQL, and we can also define after of the post, and we can type for example admin. Now let's define which fields will be returned. So it will be title, content, and after. Now let's result info must be type of result info. Okay, I understood. So yeah, let's fix this error. So I checked my mutation, previous version of the mutation, and there is no any errors with result info, but I decided to create a new file named create a post mutation, and also I recreated my model. I changed it. Now there is no content field. Now we have only description field, and also that's how I define that I want to use post object type that we created. So change this code in the type function, and now I name this mutation store post, and so this is fields, and this is how we are creating a new post by using model class. So there is nothing complex, so that's all. And also if we go to the GraphQL config, I already defined that I'm using now create a post mutation. So now I think we can go to the GraphQL API Explorer. Okay, and now let's try to create a new post by using mutations that I created. So yeah, and also if you open documentation explorer, you can see that there is these mutations that I created. So first let's define title of the new post, and maybe it will be testing new post. Now let's define description, lorem ipsum. It will be description of the post, and let's define after, and it will be admin. Now let's define fields that I want to get in the response. So it will be title, description, and after. Now let's click on this play button, and as you can see, we get data response, and that means that our post successfully created. And if I try now to get all posts, so title, description, after, and if I go to the end, you will see that post that I just tried to create is here. So yeah, and there is also some previous test post that I tried to create. So that's all that I wanted to show you in this video. So thanks for watching, and we're gonna meet in the next video. But also I want to say that soon you're gonna see tutorial where I'm gonna show you much more complex things, how you can create a GraphQL API based on Laravel. So thanks for watching.